The first vibrating dildo was diesel-powered. What is the best NSFW historical fact you know? Welcome back to another story time from Alien Radio. If we haven't met before, my name is Andrew, and I'm one of the best narrators on YouTube. Since you're already here, why not hit subscribe and the like button? It really helps with the algorithm. If you don't, I'll tell your mom about your crippling jewel addiction. No more fuss, let's get into the story. Felix IV, French president from 1895 to 1899, died of a seizure while getting a blowjob. Saint Lawrence was martyred on a gridiron. His last words were, "I'm well done on this side, turn me over." He's now the patron saint of cooks and comedians. I'm not making any of this up. Lyndon Johnson supposedly got a Secret Serviceman to stand in front because he had to pee and be shielded from view. Lyndon Johnson purposefully peed on the Secret Serviceman's leg, knowing full and well he wouldn't budge. Belarus World War II. A high-ranking Nazi officer had a brothel concubine set up. Obviously, not consensual. Well, some of the ladies didn't like the situation and did not like Nazis. So they put a landmine under his mattress. I call it the Belarusian space program. Not so much as historically as biblical. According to the Bible, right when Jesus is getting arrested by the Romans, a random unnamed naked guy just runs past everyone. He is never mentioned again, and it is unknown why they even put in the Bible. It's Mark 14:51-52, if you want to check it out. Mathematician Kurt Gödel suffered from mental illness and was paranoid he was going to be poisoned. He would only eat food his wife had prepared for him. In 1977, she was hospitalized for 6 months and could no longer prepare his food. In her absence, he refused to eat and eventually starved to death. He only weighed 65 pounds when he died. Best? I would not call this best, but it's certainly stuck with me since I learned it in class. In ancient Greece, it was believed that if a girl doesn't lose her virginity by her first period, she would fill up with blood to the point where her eyes would turn red and she would hear voices telling her to jump into wells. Or, at least, it was written in one Greek doctor's writings. There's no real evidence how widely it was believed. In the war for Texas independence against Mexico, after the Battle of the Alamo, there was this Mexican woman who was a spy for Texas. She was nicknamed the Yellow Rose of Texas. She went and seduced the Mexican General Santa Anna, and while they were hooking up, the Texans did a surprise attack and slaughtered many Mexicans and won the war. Probably got some facts wrong, lol. In 1820s Scotland, medical cadavers were in such high demand and worth so much money that two men, William Burke and William Hare, went into business together, murdering people and selling the bodies to local universities. By the time their scheme was uncovered, 16 people had been killed. The ancient city of Alexandria had one of the most famous red light districts, brothels, in the world. Once the prostitutes went on a strike and the economy of the city was at risk, so Cleopatra consulted one of the wise men in the library, and he suggested that they build another district as a competitor. Then they had two districts, and the prostitutes of the first district had to end their strike. My understanding is that most common folk throughout much of history had very meager lodgings, and most families would sleep together both for warmth as well as the simple fact that they didn't have the space for people to sleep separately. If mom and dad were in the mood to procreate, the rest of the family was just there. In ancient Greece, prostitutes used to press "follow me" into their sandals so that when they walked it would imprint into the dirt or sand. So when people saw it, they'd know that they could follow the trail and it would end in a prostitute and maybe some sex. There's a sculpture I love called the Slipper Slapper that shows Aphrodite and Pan, and she is, edit. My bad, this is not true, holding a sandal with "follow me" on the bottom. Big edit. Sorry. I appear to have misunderstood a professor and then didn't follow up before posting. The Slipper Slapper is a beautiful sculpture, but does not have "follow me" studded on the bottom in Greek. My bad for not researching the statue more before posting. The painter John Ruskin supposedly broke up with his wife after seeing her naked because he was too disgusted to consummate the marriage. She then married another artist. It's believed that this is most likely because she had pubic hair, and he didn't realize that was normal because he had only seen nude classical statues and children. The Pompeii graffiti. It's full of your mom jokes, X ducked Y here, and I crap here. Some of my favorites. Theophilus, don't perform oral sex on girls against the city wall like a dog. I screwed the barmaid. Timotheus got me pregnant. Secundus likes to screw boys. I screwed a lot of girls here. Just goes to show you that this kind of humor is universal. The first thing the father of microbiology, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, put under a microscope was semen. They understood that semen was integral to the creation of life, but didn't yet understand the concept of single-cell organisms. Benjamin Franklin enjoyed older women. So much so he endorsed getting one as his mistress, giving reasons such as they can't have children, and that the sex was just as good, if not better, than courting a young woman. European women of the 17th century would bare one or both breasts as a sign of virtue. They often used wet nurses in order to preserve their breasts for public display. Nicholas Machiavelli, author of The Prince, gave this description of a prostitute who was reportedly so ugly he threw up on her. William the Conqueror allegedly smashed his testicles on the pommel of his horse's saddle, which eventually killed him. But that's not the end of it. During his funeral ceremony, they had placed him in a stone coffin sarcophagus thing. It was unusually hot that day and his body swelled. Well, the coffin did not. So during his funeral, where he died by smashing his nuts, his body exploded. That poor tyrant just couldn't be put into the ground fast enough at the time. Funerals and burials were usually arranged by people who loved the deceased. Unfortunately for the recently dead William, he wasn't too liked. He died campaigning against his own son, and nobody really wanted to put on his funeral. And so his dead and disgustingly fat body laid naked in a medical facility in Rouen for some time, until some random knight took it upon himself to conduct the funeral. Little did the knight know, when he took the task, but William was to be buried in Keene, which is about 70 miles away. So the knight decided to try to embalm the king himself, though I'm sure he winged most of it, and found that most of his flesh and intestines were ripe with decomposition. The brave and iron-stomached knight then filled his body as much as he could with herbs and stuff, and went about the leisurely boat ride down the Seine, with a dead and bloated king. It gets worse. By the time they got to Keene, the intestines started to liquefy and filled the abdomen with putrid gas, and so a second embalming took place. And then a fire broke out in the city, stopping the funeral for a few days, as he continued to stink and decompose even further. At this time his body was swelling more each day as the flames were put out around the city, and the monks could attend the burial. Finally, it was funeral time, right? Wrong. A legal dispute broke out over whether the church was built on the land of a local farmer. Bring in the 11th century lawyers. Fortunately, it was only about a week before they had decided that the church was legally built on the land and that William could be buried there. Good news for all, the bloated and liquefying body of William the Conqueror was finally getting a funeral. The monks started pushing him into his sarcophagus, and then they were about to put him into the ground. But wait, there's more. The gravediggers didn't make the hole big enough. Suspending the funeral to whiten the hole would take a whole day. But it was a combination of the residual heat from the recent fires and the putrid stench coming from the body of William the Conqueror's body forced the monks, gravediggers, lawyers, iron-stomached knight and a few nobles to take a calculated decision: dig a wider hole or stuff the bastard, because he was called William the Bastard before Conqueror, get it? Into the hole. They shoved. He exploded. His guts, liquefied intestines and organs, blood, crap, gray matter and visceral fats shot over and covered everybody brave enough to call themselves attendants to the funeral of William of Normandy. Some say that this is no way to treat a dead body, even by 11th century standards. Some say that he was a tyrant and treated everybody like crap, and so the honor and dignity of a respectful funeral isn't needed here. However, I say, albeit I'm just some dude on Reddit, that this was one final duck you to anybody around him. I think that on some level, William would have wanted to explode over everybody like that. Because he was a cruel and spiteful person who generally regarded people as beneath him. Good on him. He treated people in death exactly as he did in life. A burden who will ruin your day no matter how much you tried to help. Edit. I am fully prepared for the pro-am historians to peck holes into this stream of consciousness. Here I'm too drunk to taste this chicken. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the story time? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more story times.